Hello, I'm Kathy Divis, president of Greystone.Net, and welcome to the 7th episode of HCICast on our journey to the 25th Annual Healthcare Internet Conference. We are excited to be moving forward with a live meeting and really looking forward to being back in person with so many of our colleagues and our friends. Before we jump into today's interview, though, a little news. We were in Las Vegas earlier this week to check it out, and there's a lot of news to share, and good news for once. It's a nice change. Vegas is performing near the top in cleanliness and tightly enforces a strong indoor mask mandate policy. The vaccination rate is high in Vegas and the infection rate is low. Vegas is not a hot spot. Actually, it's just the opposite. In our hotel, the Cosmopolitan, over 90% of the staff are already fully vaccinated, and those who aren't are tested every 3 days. And all new employees must be fully vaccinated before they start. We'll be providing more updates on Vegas, COVID safety, and other timely topics in an upcoming episode, but know that we are dedicated to making HCIC a safe and comfortable meeting for all. And we are more confident than ever that the situation will only improve in the coming weeks and months. Now I'm excited to introduce today's Merge co-host, Kelly Tack, who recently joined the agency as Senior Vice President and Group Business Development Leader. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kathy. Thanks. And I'm really excited to be here. Joining us on this episode is Mindset Digital Chief Executive Officer, Deborah Jasper. Today, we're giving listeners a sneak peek into her keynote presentation, Distant and Distracted, Managing and Learning in an Uncertain Hybrid World. Welcome to the show, Deborah.
Hey, hello. It's great to be here.
Hi, Deborah. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Kathy. That's such great news about Vegas.
Thank you. We're excited too, and it really is good news. So let's jump into today's interview. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Mindset Digital?
Sure. So we started Mindset Digital about a decade ago, and it's interesting because right now I feel like we're on that same kind of cusp. When we started it, we launched the first social media fellowship for journalists in the world, and people were saying, what is Twitter and what is Facebook? And the world was shifting. And today I feel like, we're in that same spot where we all know the world has changed dramatically in the last couple of years. The question now is, how do we become powerful virtual communicators?
Deborah, your upcoming HCIC keynote session hits on a topic today's employers simply can't ignore: a new workforce environment in a rapidly changing world. As organizations are continuing to rethink and adapt business plans, what are the most persistent challenges they face in engaging hybrid teams and driving measurable results?
Yeah, Kelly, that's such a good question. So yesterday I was actually talking with Sue Jablonski at Ohio Health. I've been working a lot, as you all know, in healthcare. And of course, there's several struggles. How are you managing in a hybrid world? How are you keeping the team connected in a hybrid world when you're not seeing people every day? I mean, how are you keeping people motivated and excited? And just frankly, how are you keeping people, not helping people just manage being exhausted? This is a tough time in healthcare. And I think the big shift is we've got to reach people now that are not just distracted, but they are distant and they're distressed. And I'll talk a little bit about, just for a second, on the brain science of this, because we all feel this. When you are distracted and distressed, the brain science is clear. It's harder for you to listen, harder for you to learn, and harder for you to remember what you learned. So that means that as leaders, we're all going to have to change how we communicate if we want to break through the noise.
Deborah, I know you can't share the entire presentation with our listeners today, but can you give us a quick preview of perhaps what the attendees can expect to walk away from after your session, or what lessons they might be able to put into practice?
Yeah, so Lori Turner and I are giving this talk together, as you know, and Lori is the Chief Marketing Officer at Blue Cross Blue Shield in Arizona. And we've been working hard on this presentation. We've been really looking at some of the dramatic ways that leadership is changing. One of the things we're going to be talking about is learning. Recruitment is a huge issue right now. Onboarding is a huge issue. How are you keeping people, how are you keeping their skills up? So we're going to talk about gamification. We're going to talk about short bursts of learning, all of the things it takes to get people to tune in. We're going to talk about your online presence. So we're going to be showing a lot of people these days are recognizing that people look them up before they decide whether they want to work for them or work with them. And so we're going to talk about your LinkedIn profile and how to tell the powerful story of you. So there's a lot that we're going to be talking about that people have to think about today in a much more online, hyper distracted, high speed world.
So Deborah, the countdown to this live show in November is on now, and we're really excited. What are you looking forward to as we prepare to come together in person for the first time in 2 years?
I can't wait to take the stage. Here's what I like. I have done about 80 virtual talks in the last year and a half. And while I love talking to people virtually, and I do think all of us have to learn how to make a bigger impact on a smaller screen, that is going to be a brand new skill set. We're going to talk about that during the talk as well. But what I actually really love about giving in-person talks is when you leave, you get to have such great conversations. When you're online and you hang up the phone, I go to my husband and say, hey, what do you want to do now? Because he's like, oh, great, we've just done a webinar. But of course, when you're on stage and you leave, you get to have amazing conversations with people about what they're learning, what they loved, what their takeaways are, what they're applying. You just get to learn from each other. And I miss learning from each other.
Is there anything else you'd like to share now, Deborah?
Well, I've worked with you all before, and I know that this is such a challenging time for everyone, but it's going to be so important to just come together. And as I said, learn from each other and, reconnect. I think it's been tough even though we talk to each other all the time, just like this on Zoom calls, and we can see people, it's not the same. And one of the things I'll talk about during the keynote is also the research around, what we're doing right now. This is tough because you can't see body language in the same way. It's harder to read tone. The eye gaze on a Zoom call is 8 times higher than it is if you're in a conference setting. So we're just going to talk about some of those challenges, and then we'll get to do that live and in person, which is going to be so much fun. So I can't wait.
Yeah, it's exciting, Deborah. We're definitely looking forward to it. And thanks so much for joining us and taking the time today and for sharing your insights on this episode of HCICast.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Kathy. See you in Vegas.
All right.
Hey, thanks, Deborah. We're looking forward to your keynote, Distant and Distracted, Managing and Learning in an Uncertain Hybrid World, with Deborah Jasper and Lori Turner. If you'd like to learn more about this keynote or the conference, please visit us at HCIC.net.